Good morning. I'm Linda, Pinky Mouse Sisters in the kitchen. Mary's at home working today really hard like she's been doing all week. So yesterday after I got off, or yesterday, actually it was last night, she was so busy I didn't have time to talk to her till late. But I told her, I said, Mary, I thought I was going on in the morning and then we were going to go on later on tomorrow, which is today, later on today. And she said, oh, Linda, I forgot about it. So anyway, I didn't want to do it until, you know, we try to stay on the same page with everything. So I'm on this morning and I'm going to be making, of course I miss her, but she's busy. I'm going to be making some candied walnuts. Now, on the title of this, I only put candied walnuts. If I have time, I'm also going to make a chocolate caramel sauce. And I baked a cake this morning, a bundt cake, and I'm going to pour that over that and then sprinkle some of the candied walnuts on top of it. So we'll see how my time goes. But thank you for joining me. I know it's a busy time and I know y'all are busy, but thank you so much for joining me. So I have got my burner on here on medium, but first of all, my oven is preheated to 350 degrees. I have a pound of shelled walnuts, and I've got my baking tray and a piece of parchment on it. So I'm just going to put these on the baking tray. And I'm going to put them in a single layer. So, get this out of the way. Oops. You want them to roast evenly, so I'm just going to spread them out here. I'm not putting anything on them. I'm just putting them in the oven like this. And I'm putting them on the middle shelf. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to roast them for about, I think it's about 8 to 10 minutes. You can pretty much smell when they're ready. You'll smell them. So I'm going to set my timer over here. For 8 minutes. And then I'm going to start my other ingredients. So my other ingredients, I'm going to use this medium boiler, and if y'all wonder why I'm using these boilers, these came from Sam's. They have a handle on them, and I don't mind stirring real heavy in them, and they're a nice boiler to do something like this. So I've got 1 cup of sugar, imperial granulated sugar. Make sure that's not hot. I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Put a little bit of salt, about a half a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to stir that up before I add my milk. Half a teaspoon of salt, just regular table salt. And then I'm just going to take my whisk and just whisk it together. Now I've made candied pecans and different kinds of candied nuts. I've actually never made this recipe, so we're going to see how it turns out together. Okay, so I got that mixed up good. Now I've got 6 tablespoons of whole milk. I don't think I've quite got all of that. Oops, I didn't get out a spoon to stir with. I might put my big spoon. I'm just going to stir it all up together. Now I am going to use a candy thermometer with this because it needs to cook to 240 degrees, and since I have never made this before, I'm going to use a candy thermometer like the instructions say. looks like I got that mixed up pretty good. No, I guess you're not being able to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm going to get it started boiling, and I want it to go to 240 degrees. And once it starts boiling, you don't want to stir it. You remember yesterday I told you don't do the crystals down on, don't scrape the crystals down on the side. You want to do the same thing with this. Once it starts boiling, don't re-scrape them. So, well, I didn't get no foil out, so I guess I can do that while that's cooking. I've got to have a little bit of lightly buttered foil to pour these on. And let me turn this around so y'all can see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to get a piece of foil and I'll show y'all how I do. You can use, of course you can use a pastry brush or anything, but I'm just going to melt a little bit of butter on the plate. Well, I guess I won't melt it on a plate. I'll melt it on something so I don't waste that plate. Oh, excuse me for walking in front of you. Probably, I don't know, probably maybe a teaspoon or something. I'm just going to melt it in the microwave real quick. Now I got up this morning and I baked a cake, a bundt cake, and it was a mix that we bought at Barron's when we went there a couple of weeks ago on our live, and it was a Nordic cake mix, and it was quite expensive. I got 20% off, but I decided this morning that I would make it. It's a vanilla bundt cake. And I do use cake mixes from time to time. Most of the time when I use them, it's either because the recipe calls for it or I doctor the cake mix up. And when I say I doctor the cake mix up, I add stuff to it. Like an extra egg, more milk. I add milk instead of water. Sometimes I'll add an extra half a cup of sugar, half a cup of flour, equal parts. And, but this particular mix, I didn't. I went by the recipe and I made it, cooked it. It looked beautiful. And I had my pan sprayed real good, so it wasn't that. The oven was the right temperature, but the top of it kind of stuck in the pan. And, that usually doesn't happen. Mike said, are you going to show that? You going to show that cake with the top stuck on it? And I said, well, you know, stuff like that happens. I've never used this mix before. I wanted to try it. I bought it. So anyway, I'm going to put this chocolate sauce on top of it. That's what I'm, not this candy. This is for the candy pecans. The chocolate sauce, when I make it, I'm going to put it on top of this cake. And if I don't have time to do it live, well, I'll show y'all when I get off. So this is starting to boil. You can see that that's starting to boil. At least I hope you can. Okay. So I'm going to stir it one time since it's just starting to boil. And then I won't stir it again. Because you're not supposed to stir it after it comes to a rolling boil. Alright, done with the stirring. Now I'm going to get a paper towel and I'm just going to lightly butter this just so the walnuts won't stick. You can use pastry brush or you can just use a piece of paper towel, whatever suits your fancy. Okay. I'll walk behind the camera this time instead of walking in front of it. So, we went to, I think I better turn this down just a pinch. We went to Longview yesterday after I got through making the divinity. And I can tell you, it's 32 miles the back way to Longview from our house. I'm gonna check the degree on here and see what degree it is. About 2:15, so it's not quite time. And has it been 8 minutes since I started these walnuts? They're definitely not done, so I'm gonna put them on for about another 3 minutes. So it was 2:15 when we left here. It's 32 miles, and you know, you drive the speed limit because they monitor this back road. And we made 5 stops. We stopped at the bank, and then we went to Kohl's. We went in we went in that Five Below store. Some of y'all probably know what that store is. Everything in the store is $5 or below. Kind of reminded me of like the old Pick and Saves. If y'all remember the old Pick and Saves, the first one I ever went in was when we lived in Albuquerque, and I think they turned into, it was another name, and then they went to Big Lots. So it's kind of like that kind of store, but it's like a glorified dollar store. And there was a lot of people in there. We didn't stay in there long. They didn't have what I went in there to see, to look for. So I needed a really big plastic Santa Claus gift bag, and they didn't have them. So then we went in another store, Ulta, to get a gift card. And then we went to Panera to get us something to eat. 5 stops. We drove in our driveway at 4:17. That was just barely 2 hours, and it takes an hour to go up there and back. So we only spent an hour going in those 5 stops. I told Mike I thought that was a record. Of course, he helps me get in and out fast because he carries the stuff, he puts it away. If we have to go to the car, he'll go run to the car and put it in the car while I'm going on to the next store. So that helped a lot too. But I was really happy to get that done because I was afraid that, you know, they wouldn't have what I wanted. I'd already been in the store, and I knew what it was that I was looking for, and I was waiting for the Black Friday sale to go on before I bought it because it was substantial savings. So I knew exactly what I was going for, and that helps too when you know what you're looking for. And then so we got back home. We got things to wrap, and we're putting most of it in sacks. In fact, Mike bought a bag of garbage bags to put some of the kids' toys in because they're a little bulky. Let me check this. And we're just going to put pretty ribbons and stuff on them so they'll be colorful. This should be getting close to 240. Not quite. It's about 225, so it needs to cook just a little bit more. And my walnuts have been baking 11 minutes, and I have got a real good smell, and I still do not smell them, but I don't want to over bake them, so I'm going to give them another minute or two, and then I'm going to take them out. So that's going to be a total of, 13 minutes that I have cooked these. And on when I write the recipe, actually I think I already wrote it, I'll have to change that to 13 minutes instead of 8 to 10. Sometimes you don't know these things until you do them. And we don't always have the option to cook something ahead of time. When we first started doing the videos, we cooked everything ahead of time, and then we cooked it again on live. Now, we still do that sometimes. Mary probably does it more than I do, but especially with the cost of everything, that's 2 different times that you got to cook, and 2 different times, you know, you got to have double ingredients. So we don't always do it 2 times. but we make notes when we're making something, so we do know how to make the adjustments. And that's why sometimes on the members page we will come back and we will make an adjustment on the recipe that we posted for you. And I'm going to take those walnuts up just shortly when that buzzer goes off, because they're going to be cooked for 13 minutes. I believe that's what I already told y'all. Okay, right now we're on 229, 230. So we've got just a little bit ways to go because it needs to come to 240. So I'll get those walnuts out, and I think I can set them on top of that pan there, because I'm going to put the walnuts in this pot and stir them all up, get them all glazed, and then pour them off on the baking sheet. It'll be hot when that comes out. Kind of heavy for one hand. Turn the oven off. They look pretty good. Yeah, I think I can smell them. I think I can smell that they've got some good roast on them. I'm going to check this one more time. You can smell that cinnamon. It's got a lot of cinnamon in it. Okay, we're up to 227, 230. We're almost to 240. I think we're going to be good. Again, when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your thermometer is not touching the bottom of the pan. So I'm 235, so we got about 5 more degrees to go before it hits 240. 236. I hope this is a good recipe because I love candied nuts to go like, they're even good on a salad. We love nuts in salads, especially if you have like strawberries or blueberries or pineapple or something in it. The nuts are real good in a salad. Okay, we got about 3 more degrees to go before it hits 240. Then I'm going to add my vanilla, and then I'm going to add the roasted walnuts. It's funny when you're waiting on something to go up just 2 or 3 degrees. It actually went down. I think I took my thermometer out, raised it up out of the syrup. Okay, we're back up to 237. I turned the burner down just a pinch while ago. It would have probably already been to 240, but I just didn't want it to cook really, really fast until my walnuts got ready. I'm going to check with my other thermometer if this keeps going up and down, because it seems to be going up and down. So I know that Mary is so excited about her kids and her family coming. Mamas always love for their kids and grandbabies to come home. And no matter how old they are, they're always their babies. When we were kids, growing up, Daddy used to buy and sell hay, and he would scout out different places. Okay, we're up to 240, and he would then go back when it was ready and buy it. He would make a deal with the farmers and he'd go back and buy it. So one time we all went with him. I didn't measure that. I just poured probably about maybe half a teaspoon in. So one time when we were all with him, we had to get a room and spend the night because it was, I'm going to stir that vanilla in. It was too far to drive back home. So when he went in to get the room for us, the guy asked him how many was, you know, going to be staying in the room. And he said, me and my wife and our 4 babies. And I don't know, I was probably 4 years old. Edward was 2.5. And when we got the room, there was a baby bed in there. And Edward was the baby, but he wouldn't sleep in the baby bed. So I think he wound up sleeping with Mom and Daddy, and I slept in the baby bed because I was real small anyway, and it didn't bother me. But Daddy always called us his babies. All right, let's see if I can get these in here without making too big of a mess. I think I got that. Let's set this over here out of the way. Now I'm going to stir these. You want to make sure that all of your, hope I don't knock them out, all of your walnuts get glazed. That pan's hot. So stir from the bottom. And just kind of keep stirring until they all have some of this good glaze on them. I keep touching that pan. And it is hot. Now it's not going to be caked on the walnuts. It's not, you know, it's just enough to kind of glaze them. And if you want to use a bigger pan than I did, it might be a little easier to stir. You can tell it's already setting on them. So I'm going to move over here to where my foil pan is, and I'm going to pour them out. And see, I probably could have got them stirred up a little bit better if I would have used a bigger pan. Let's see if you can see this. Okay. And if they clump up, that's okay. You're going to break them apart anyway when they cool. And ooh, they smell so good. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to a Buc-ee's. We have a Buc-ee's convenience store chain in Texas, and I think they're in some of the other states too. They sell candied nuts, and they're really, really good. I don't think I've ever bought the walnuts, but I bought the pecans, and they're quite expensive for a little tiny container. So you could make a whole bunch, which this is probably several containers of what you would get at a store for a fraction of the cost. So this is going to be a lot of good topping. You can use this, like I said, to go on a salad. You can chop some up, because these are halves, walnut halves. You can chop some up to put on oatmeal. You could use it in a yogurt parfait. You could top it on a cake, glaze the cake and top it, which I'm going to do a little bit later. And I'm not going to do that chocolate live right now. I think I kind of, out of the corner of my eye, I kind of think Mike might have been trying to signal me. Maybe Mary's trying to call me or text me or something. She can't on the while. Bye-bye.